Hello and welcome to Low Budget Gaming and welcome to another first Descendant video. So today I have a build guide for the truly deadly Arson beam rifle. Now this gun was a little bit of a pain to farm because you have to go to the normal difficulty Sigma sector, and then one of the research materials, Fury Knight, doesn't seem to drop. So took a while, and you need the 5 copies to get the full power of the gun. But I have a build here and a showcase of how it works, and then you can decide whether it's worth investing or not. One or two other issues as well that I wanted to talk about with this gun. And perhaps with Ultimate Blair, we may see more usage of this. But anyway, let's look at the stats here, then I'll explain the unique ability, one or two issues that I noticed, and then the build and things like that. So first up, what we have here is a gun with 9,500 base firearm attack. Not high, but it does come with the fixed element of fire. Fire rate is 545, which is okay for a beam rifle. Rounds per magazine is kind of low. Base number is only 35. Beam rifles, they need to go to the third stage to do more damage. With 35 bullets, you won't be able to do that. You'll reload, lose all of that. So it's a little annoying. So I have tried to increase that. Reload time is 2 seconds, which again for 35 bullets is not particularly great, but if you increase it, it's not that bad. Firearm critical hit rate is 25%, which is good. Firearm critical hit damage is 1.6, which is again somewhere in the middle, not particularly great, but it's something. Then we have a 4% firearm status trigger rate, which is again a little bit on the lower side in my opinion. Weak point is 1 times. Multi-hit is good on this. It is 0.44 times or 44%. And we have 100% aim shot accuracy because this is a beam rifle. If we go right at the end, you see this number here, penetration. This is the unique ability. This is the strength of the rounds needed to penetrate a target. This is at 5 copies. At 4 copies, this number is only 500. So you do need the 5 copies to make this gun effective. Now the unique ability. On hitting an enemy with the gun, obviously, inflicts void fire status. Okay, so when you shoot at the enemy, you'll inflict void fire status on the enemy. When burn is also inflicted on top of void fire. So when the burn status is inflicted, so let's say Blair uses his first ability and inflicts burn on top of void fire, it explodes and deals damage. So when void fire and burn combine, it causes an explosion, deals damage, and then transforms the burn into the more powerful Inferno, which is another status. So we start with void fire, we put burn, those two combine, explode, and then the burn transforms into Inferno and the void fire is gone, and this Inferno will last for a few seconds duration and does damage. Okay, so that should be straightforward to understand. So let me get some vulgus and show you what it looks like. So you shoot, you'll inflict void fire. Okay, you see void fire up there. You inflict the status burn. Now they explode and do damage and die. Okay, so this is how this works with the unique ability. Now let's look at the build, and then we look at Arche Tuning and other things. So first up, let's look at the roles here. So firearm attack, critical hit damage, critical hit rate, fire attack. So I went with the standard stuff here. On the course, in the free one, I went with rounds per magazine because the gun just doesn't have enough ammo. We needed to go to the third stage, so I went with the rounds per magazine. It's only purple, 141%. It goes up to 150. We have 2 element cores. Again, we'll put fire. By the way, if you put any other element on this gun, it will convert that into fire as well at a very small percentage. So this is not a gun you can put chill cores and go for void erosion for 30 because it will still turn it into fire. So just stick with fire. And then in the green one, I went with fire rate 20%. I got lucky there. Now we have a final purple one, faction damage. I did not use anything here. And if they had not given us that purple and given us another free core, I think this gun would have been much more balanced in my opinion. Anyway, now let's look at the build page here. Again, crit rate, crit damage, multi-hit. Those are the things we are working with. So we go with rifling reinforcement, action and reaction, better insight, better concentration. We have concentration priority for more crit damage, edging shot for more crit rate. And then we have 2 mods for the multi-hit stuff. So we have multi-hit chance at 60% at the expense of fire rate 15%. Again, I don't want to do this, but the only other option is reduce the crit damage, which I don't want to do. Multi-piercing damage, multi-piercing trigger. This increases the multi-hit damage and multi-hit chance by a little bit. I did not go for the multi-hit damage one because that will take away from the crit damage again. So if we have this one here, multi-hit damage, this would, if it's fully enhanced, this will give us a lot of multi-hit damage, but we'll lose a lot of crit damage. So I went with this option. We get a little bit of multi-hit, but at least we get more multi-hit chance. And then we have 2 mods for fire. So fire enhancement, fire priority. Now you have a few other options. For example, you have superheated gun barrel. This gives you fire attack of 80% at the expense of fire rate, which I did not want. So I stuck with the fire priority, even though this will give you more damage, but your gun will shoot slower. I don't know if you like it or not. Again, you can test this out, see if you prefer this. People have also used heat circulation instead of this, or instead of rifling reinforcement, because people are not using rifling reinforcement that much. You can get a lot more fire attack here. However, with this one, it's only a 5-second duration after you inflict the burn and a 20-second cooldown. So again, in practice, I was not a fan when I tried it. So I've stuck with a simple setup here, and I've used Arche Tuning and other things to increase the damage from the gun. So speaking of Arche Tuning, what I have is, right now this is the skill setup for Blair. But if you go with the gun setup, you can go with something like this. So we get a little more weak point. Again, we don't need the weak point, but we have to go through here. Reload, we take a lot of the multi-hit stuff here, multi-hit damage, multi-hit chance, more firearm attack. We'll have to take the affinity, advantage affinity. Again, depending on the faction, this will come in handy. More firearm attack, and then we take the crit damage. So this is the setup I've used. And with this, you can actually notice a good improvement. The numbers at the end will be 45.5% crit rate, almost 4 times crit damage. We have decent advantage affinity. Multi-hit chance is up to 90% now. Multi-hit damage is 0.664. And then we have a little bit of the weak point from the Arche Tuning, but we get a good number with the multi-hit chance with this Arche Tuning setup. So if you go here, you can see a lot of the multi-hit numbers on the sides. So you do a lot of damage here, and yeah, it's not bad. Pretty good overall if you do this. Now there's one other thing I want to mention. Blair also has a really good gun build. So if you use this in combination with, let's say, a gun build Blair, something like this. Now what this does is his second ability. If you use his second ability, it increases the weak point damage and the firearm attack of the gun based on the flame zone. So if you saw my video from yesterday, when Blair uses his flame zones on the ground, normally in a skill-based setup, it increases his crit rate and crit damage of the skills. But here, with this backdraft transcendent mod for the gun build, it actually increases the firearm critical damage. So what you could do is, first let me just clean this up here. So what you would do is you would summon the vulgars. Let's see here. You put down the flame zones. Okay, you get some flame zones. Let's just drop this here to get more flame zones. And then you use the second ability. This increases the weak point damage, gun damage. You can see here we are doing a lot more damage now with the gun, because you're increasing the crit rate and the crit damage and all of that on the gun. You can see 91% here. So yeah, you could use a gun build. Now the only issue with the gun build, in my opinion, is it's not something specific for the truly deadly Arson. Any gun he's holding in his hand will benefit from this gun build. So I can't present this as something good about the gun, because that is based on the Blair. You could put the Enduring Legacy in his hand and use the gun build and get more power out of that. So I wanted to test the gun purely as a skill setup. But if you are a fan of the gun, you want to use it, you can go with Arche Tuning like this. And again, use a gun build Blair if you want to use more of the gun. If you want to just use the gun as something with Blair, then you can stick with the classic chef or something like this and keep the setting around here. So you're mostly doing damage with Blair and occasionally shooting enemies and inflicting the status because you'll be doing that anyway. So yeah, so that is basically the gun here. It's good, but it's very niche in my opinion. You have to use it with Blair or anybody else that does fire damage. And then with Blair being buffed, um, my question is why would you need this gun anyway when you can simply do something like this and kill them instantly? So why would I go with the trouble of shoot here, void fire, burn status, sheep shooting, reload? This is much faster. So yeah, it's a little bit of a strange one with this one. It's a good gun, has interesting features. While the Ancient Knight works very well with Serena, Blair is just so powerful, he doesn't really need the truly deadly Arson. So that is my opinion of this gun. Let me know what you think. Of course, if you're going with a gun build Blair, you can use some other external components because you don't really need the Slayer set for the skill because we are not doing skill damage, we're doing firearm crit. You could go with Acrobat sensor or something like that. Acrobat set, I mean, and veteran tactics, is it? No, veteran marksman, I think. Those sort of external components. But yeah, so that is my opinion of the truly deadly Arson. Perhaps with Ultimate Blair coming out, there may be some more synergy or something. But at the moment, it's an interesting gun, but unlikely to get much use from me personally. So yeah, that is the truly deadly Arson. I know I built it up and then I kind of crapped on it. But yeah, let me know what you think as well. It is interesting, has some interesting things going. But yeah, I'm not sure where this stands right. Maybe I'm just salty with all the farming and then it becoming a little bit of a dud at the end. But anyway, that's it for this one. Thank you for watching if you did.